Okay guys, I got a treat for you today. I bet you're a casual or even daily ChatGPT user and you want to know what the pros are doing. So the secrets today are either new features, so most people don't even know about them yet, or they're so good that if you're not using them, your AI ceiling will be here compared to what's possible. Oh, and the second and last ones are free, so stick around to see those too. By the way, I'm David. Kevin and I are working together to bring you great tutorials like this one. Let's go. Number one is brand new as of filming. It's called ChatGPT Agent, and with it, you can delegate complex, multi-step tasks across a bunch of tools to ChatGPT. And it's not just things like research, it's actually doing things like booking reservations, finding products to buy, creating slide decks. This is brand new, so let's check it out together. First, head over to chatgpt.com. The agent just rolled out to Pro plans today, but it should be in all plans except for free by the end of July 2025. To check if you have it, make sure you're in a new chat first, and then click on the Tools button and looking for Agent Mode. You'll see a bunch of suggestions on how best to use Agent Mode. The pattern that I see is tasks that have some mix of research, action in a web browser, and/or coding. And that coding could be data analysis, spreadsheet creation, or even PowerPoint presentation creation. So let's try it with a mix of research and action. I'm visiting New York City soon, and I want the agent to find and book a restaurant for my friend and me with a unique experience that I couldn't find here in Seattle. Somewhere in Manhattan on August 2nd, can be any type of cuisine. After we submit the prompt, the agent starts figuring out its plan and setting up its own computer to complete the task. If you tried ChatGPT Operator, you'll notice the similarities. Once the computer is loaded, we see a window into its work. It's got access to several different tools. This will go on for 5, 15, maybe even 30 minutes, so I'll just highlight a few things here. You'll see this live stream of consciousness here that describes what the agent is thinking. Here it is again. You'll see this and hear this referred to as chain of thought. From there, it usually toggles among 3 different tools. The tool it's on now, this reading mode, that indicates that it's reading a web page, but it's text only to make it super fast to process. And that fast text browser is one of the key differences between agent and operator. From there, it might toggle to a spotlight type view, which shows you it's searching for answers. And sometimes you'll actually see a browser open. That means the agent is taking some action, like performing a reservation. That restaurant didn't have any tables available on the second. So just like a human, the agent will keep looking for an alternative until it finds something. This is going to take a few more minutes, so hopefully you get the idea by now. Let's skip through to the end and see what it finds. So 7 minutes in, it's found a restaurant for us and it's asking us to confirm the booking. Let's say we're happy with its choice. We've got to click this Take Over button to fill in our personal information. Now, you could avoid this by telling the agent your personal info ahead of time in the prompt, but I'd recommend against it. Definitely do not give the agent your credit card, ID, or anything sensitive. Here's the risk. If the agent visits a sketchy site, it might hand that info over without warning. OpenAI has safeguards, but even they admit they're not bulletproof. Number 2 is deep research. Now, ChatGPT sometimes gets a bad reputation because it hallucinates from time to time, and it's very confident when it does. But did you know with deep research, you can create thorough and reliable research on just about any topic. So that way you can summarize dozens of sources of information in minutes instead of days. Let me show you how it works. I'm signed in and on the free plan, so you can follow along with me. Go over to your prompt box and click on the button that says Tools. Then click on Run Deep Research. Then type in the topic you want to research. Now let's say you're looking for a new car. A good prompt could be find me the best SUV, so a car type, under $30K for a family of 4 with young kids. I'll need it to take on a lot of short trips to drop off and pick up the kids at school. I'm most concerned about safety, gas mileage, and ease of maintenance in that order. You can also throw in really specific requirements that would be hard to search for, like I also need a lot of trunk space to deliver 50 boxes of donuts. What can I say? I like to make deliveries for my donut shop sometimes. When you submit this prompt, ChatGPT is going to think for a few seconds and then ask you some follow-up questions to help it clarify its research plan. Look over the questions and go ahead and answer them. I found that this format of mirroring the question numbers with answer numbers to work just fine. When you press enter this time, ChatGPT is going to start putting together its research plan. It will go out to hundreds of different websites to find stats, customer reviews, testimonials, pricing sheets, and much more to make a recommendation. It's like having an analyst who works for you 24/7. While it's working, you'll see its activity pop up in the right side pane. Now, when it's done, you can see its full report. In this case, it took about 6 minutes to get there. Now, that's on the low end. OpenAI says it could take up to 30 minutes for really complex reports. So let's take a look. It starts by summarizing the priorities I shared and then gets straight into recommendations. Down below, it gives us an easy comparison table to look at. And then depending on whether we're prioritizing gas mileage or reliability, it gives us some very concrete recommendations. Notice also that most of these claims are backed by citations. That doesn't mean it's foolproof, but you can chase down original sources if you need to. Now, I just took the same prompt and ran it without deep research. So compare this response with what you just saw. It gets straight into recommendations, which is good, but there's not as much context behind them. For example, it doesn't clarify the years of these models to look at, nor does it cover the average price. ChatGPT also didn't ask follow-up questions this time, so it ended up recommending the Kia Niro, which doesn't have an all-wheel drive option. And if you're not sure what you can use deep research for, check out these other use cases for some ideas. On the free plan, you get 5 deep research searches per month, and higher plans give you 25 or even 250. What if you wanted to plug in your own data into deep research? You can certainly upload your own files, but with connectors, you can directly link ChatGPT to third-party apps beyond just a file or two. See, that way ChatGPT has the full picture of everything you have access to answer your questions. Now, if you have a paid plan, you could turn on connectors by turning on deep research and then clicking on the sources button. By default, deep research just searches the web. But you can plug in a few other apps like Google Calendar and Google Drive. And if you click Connect More, you'll see even more connectors like Gmail, Outlook, SharePoint, Teams, Canva, and more. Now, one of the built-in connectors that's a bit off the beaten path is HubSpot. Now, real quick, HubSpot is a CRM tool which helps you track customers from when they're first interested in what you have to sell all the way to when you've sold them and beyond. So you can go back to your prompt box and type in a question that requires access to your HubSpot data. So here I'm asking ChatGPT to list my best customers based on how long they've been with me and the consistency of their communication, so I can follow up with a gift for them before the new school year starts. And this is a real HubSpot instance, so I want it to replace the real names and companies with fake names so no personal info is exposed. Next, I've got to make sure that I turn on the HubSpot connector, and this time I'll also turn off the web search connector before starting. And just like before, ChatGPT is going to ask a few follow-up questions, so I'll answer them quickly and get it started. And now it's done, I can click on where it says research completed to see that in fact it has reached out to HubSpot. And not only does it give me the customer names, at least anonymized for this video, but it also gives me a neat summary of the relationship I've had with each customer. Now, this deep research connector is just one kind of search connector. There are actually 3 others, so let's check those out. You can connect regular web search to a connector too. After you click on Tools, click on Search Connectors. This time you'll see a source list, which is a little different. You can use this to search your Google Drive, Dropbox, SharePoint, or OneDrive. So I've got multiple Google Drives connected here. I could ask a somewhat risky question like, what's a file that might surprise me in my Google Drive? And as you'd expect, when you press enter, it goes out to Google Drive. Now, the advantage of this is that it's a lot faster than deep research. The disadvantage, though, is that it's only available on the highest tier plan and team plans.
So it found an interesting file, and I know this one is far from mind-blowing. You could run a similar question in Google Gemini or Microsoft Copilot. But when you consider you could have multiple OneDrives, multiple Google Drives, Dropboxes, etc., putting them together all in one place with one prompt is a killer play for ChatGPT. Let's next check out the third type of connector called the synced connector. I actually just disconnected Google Drive so I could show you this. So I still have connectors selected. This time I'll try to add Google Drive fresh. Google Drive is the only type of synced connector available. Now, if we didn't sync, that prompt I just ran would have to go through all of my Google Drive files to find something interesting. But because it was synced, ChatGPT already indexed most of my files, which makes them a lot faster to search. And that includes docs, slides, PDFs, plain text files, and markdown files. Now, the synced connector requires a pro or team plan, and so does this last type of connector. If you can write some code, you can build your own custom connector so that you can access your proprietary data. For example, I built this connector to talk to my financial data in QuickBooks Online. Now, this only works for deep research queries, so let's find something that harnesses the power of a custom connector and default web search. Here's the question. Can you get my total income and expenses this year so far and compare it to the industry averages for donut shops? Of course, I'll answer the follow-up questions and let's see what it comes back with. Now, this report took 6 minutes and it pulled my income and expense data directly from QuickBooks Online. When I click on the citation, I'll see the numbers live in my QuickBooks Financial Reporting Suite. This year, it's not looking so good for us so far. So if I go back to the report and then scroll down to see the comparison with benchmarks, I know what it's going to say. We have some work to do.
Now, creating a custom connector goes beyond what I can talk about with you today, but it does bring us to the sponsor of today's video, Intuit and QuickBooks Online. Imagine you're starting a small business. It's an exciting time. You've got some skill that you can use to serve other people, and you can make money from it. But then tax season comes around and you have no clue how much money you owe. Don't get stuck there. Go ahead and check out QuickBooks Online.
That way you actually save money on your taxes because you'll find extra deductions. You can also use it to issue digital invoices instead of writing them by hand, and send out payment reminders automatically with AI instead of keeping track of them yourself. Sales tax is tracked for you too. So by the time tax season rolls around, it's a breeze to know how much you need to pay.
And now with its own suite of AI agents to help you out, it is a great time to try QuickBooks. Click the link down in the description to give it a shot. Okay, don't hate me because this is also a paid feature at the Plus plan level, but it's the one I think is most worth it. See, when you have a repetitive task that doesn't need perfect accuracy, you can create a custom GPT to do that task for you. It's not as feature-rich as the agent we just saw, but I think it's easier to get right.
To make your own agent through a custom GPT, open up the sidebar and click on GPTs. This opens up the gallery of custom GPTs that others have built. You can browse and use others' GPTs for free, but you can only make your own with a subscription. So if you have that subscription, click on Create in the top right. So I've got this online donut sales data from Google Analytics. It tells me for each of our products and advertising channels, how many of each were bought over multiple weeks. Now, this list is about 40,000 rows long, and the same item can show up in multiple rows. Our job is to find which item across all of its rows had the greatest increase in items purchased from week to week, and which ones had the greatest decrease in items purchased.
So how do we do that? That is a complex multi-step prompt. So I like to give it some structure to increase the chances that it gets it right. Here's a 4-part framework you may have heard before. Number 1, tell ChatGPT to assume a role. It's like giving it a specific voice to answer with. For example, you'd expect an analyst to respond differently from a news anchor. Next up is context. Describe any information that's relevant for the GPT to do its job. So the input file, in this case, is a good place to start. You'd want to describe any files you attach and how the GPT should use them. Third is the task. This is what we're mostly familiar with. Describe what the GPT needs to do. Last up, format. Describe what you want the response to look like. Do you want tables? Do you want a CSV file, a bulleted list, 500 words, 100 words? You've got a lot of options here.
So let's make this prompt real now. Go ahead and click on the configure button instead of create, and you'll get into the main area where you can edit your prompt. I'll give this GPT a name. Let's call it my Google Analytics 4 Analyst. And then you add all that prompt detail into the box that says instructions, starting with the role. I like to break up the prompt into sections using Markdown. In case you're not familiar with Markdown, this # basically indicates a section header. So now I'll tell it what its role is. You are a Google Analytics expert data analyst attempting to extract sales insights to track business growth. We continue on. The next step is the context. And here I'll describe the format of the file that we just looked at. Let's quickly open this in a larger window so you can see more of it. Okay, great. So you can see I'm describing the file format. Each item ID, channel, and campaign has a unique set of data spanning 3 rows. The second row has the data for this week, third row has the data for last week, and the first row is the difference. Now comes the task, and my recommendation here is to break this up into steps. That helps the AI not do too much at once because it might forget some earlier instruction, which is actually critical. So I've got 3 steps here. The first is to transform the input such that each item ID, channel, and campaign is in 1 row instead of 3. That's going to make it a lot easier to do step 2, which is to calculate the item purchase changed as this week's items purchased minus last week's. And finally, step 3 is to find the top 10 and the bottom 10 changes. Now, the last section was format. This is how we want ChatGPT to return results to us. I've said, give me 2 tables with the following columns: the item ID, the name, the channel, and the item purchase changed. Table 1 is for the top 10, and table 2 is for the bottom 10. Now, realistically, I know this prompt works because I've tried it before, but when you build your GPTs, you start with something. You're going to have to iterate to get it exactly right, so don't be afraid to start somewhere. Now we're done. Let's click close. That was the biggest hurdle when it comes to creating a custom GPT. Now let's go through the rest of the options. If you want to give a custom GPT to your team, conversation starters are a must. This describes what the GPT can do. So an example might be find the biggest weekly purchase changes from a GA4 report. Now you might want to make this shorter so it fits in the button that pops up. So I'm going to take out a couple of filler words and there we go. Okay, so knowledge is useful if you have other documents the GPT needs to reference for context. Since we've already got all the context in our prompt, we can skip this. Next is recommended model. Now, when a task is really complex and involves a lot of different steps, I usually opt for an O series model. These are the models that include reasoning by default. But because they can take a long time compared to the GPT models, I test the GPT models first before trying the O models. Next up is capabilities. Now, we don't need web search, canvas, or image generation. I'm turning these off so there's no chance the model wastes its time trying to use these tools. We do, however, need the ability to do data analysis. Now, after all that configuration, we can test the GPT out in this right pane. Now, the great thing is I don't need to prompt anything. All I need to do is drag and drop the report file and then submit it, and off it goes. We can see already that it's starting to analyze the file. Then after about a minute or so, it finds the top 10 and the bottom 10. I definitely recommend double checking these before you sign off. Notice the expand and collapse table doesn't quite work, so your better bet is to download the table. Then, once you're happy with your GPT, go ahead and click create in the top right. You can choose who you want to create it for, and I definitely recommend starting with only me so you can test it further. Then, once you hit the save button, you can click on View GPT to go to a full prompt window with that GPT. And anytime you want to go back to this GPT, Just open your sidebar and you'll see it in the list of GPTs on the left. And if for some reason you don't see it there, click on the GPTs option, then click on My GPTs in the top right, and you should see it in your entire list here.
Obviously, ChatGPT works on the web and your mobile device, but did you know there's also a free desktop app you can try? It's got a couple new tricks in it, which I'm about to cover, so if you want to download it, head to the link in the description to get it.
So here I am on the Mac inside the Notion app. One of the best perks of the ChatGPT desktop app is no matter where you are, you can access ChatGPT by pressing Option and space on Mac or Alt space on Windows. This might not sound like a big deal, but if you're like me and have 30, 40, 50 plus browser tabs open, you know what it's like to lose track of ChatGPT windows. Now, if you're on the Mac, ChatGPT might be able to read the text of the window that you're in and use it as context for your prompt. So I'm in this Notion document. We've got store policies for David's Donut Den. If I hit Option and space to bring up ChatGPT, I can see that context is captured here. That means I can ask any question about this document, like, what do I do when we run out of donuts? It takes a look at Notion, and then it'll show me the exact policy from the document. I guess if we keep running out of donuts, that explains why we're not making any money. But this example is where I think it really shines, especially if you're a technical person. So if your build window or your terminal shows warnings or errors like this, you can easily switch into ChatGPT for help. Launch it through the shortcut, and then we can ask what went wrong here. It's got the context from that terminal window, and it gives me a really simple solution to what went wrong. I know this is a trivial example, but trust me, this has been a game changer for a lot of other work I do. Now, if you want to go from here back into the desktop app, click this icon in the top right of the window. You'll land back in the familiar interface and you can keep going from here. Now, we don't normally show the Mac on this channel, but I decided to make an exception because this desktop app has a beta feature that shows where ChatGPT is headed next.
It's called ChatGPT Record, and with it, you can transcribe and summarize recordings. So that means meetings, brainstorms, or even private voice notes.
So to start ChatGPT Record, I'm going to get rid of this existing context. Then you click the record button in the bottom right part of the prompt pane. Then you can speak anything you want, like, what is my perfect crime? I break into the Kevin Cookie Company at midnight. Do I go for the safe? No, I'm after the master recipe book. It's priceless. As I'm putting it in my bag, a woman catches me. She tells me to stop. I say no. We spend the night baking cookies. Now you can pause or stop a recording at any time. You can choose to resume it afterward, or you can do this thing called send. Send uploads the transcript to ChatGPT, and after a few minutes, it opens a private canvas with a structured summary. Now, this summary came quickly because the recording was so short. Clicking on the canvas gives you a chance to edit the summary, and you can also click on timestamps to reference the original transcript. Now, unfortunately, you can't access the original recording, you just get a transcript.
This is a very new feature, so today it's only available in the Pro tier and the Team edition. Today works best in English and it's limited to 2-hour recordings. If you haven't tried these yet, head over to chatgpt.com and get started. And in the meantime, which one of these secrets are you most excited to try? Let me know down in the comments. Also, if you learned something new, hit that like button and subscribe for more tips like this. Thank you so much for watching.